Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Well, X-Men Dark Phoenix, or just Dark Phoenix as it's called. Why didn't they put the X-Men name in front of it? They made so many of these movies with X-Men in the front, and now the last one they're ever going to do before Disney takes them and they decide to drop that? I don't get it. But who cares? Because it's Fox's X-Men. Nobody cares about them. Now, I have to admit, this movie, as the thumbnail suggests, was not as bad as I was expecting, because the good movies, the good X-Men movies are so few and far between. Expectations are just so low that like expectations are next to dinosaurs. That's how low my expectations are for these X-Men movies. Add to that the bad reviews that it's got and the fact that now Disney's buying Fox, so none of this really matters anyway. I couldn't have had expectations lower than I did, which is why this movie slightly exceeded my expectations and it wasn't as bad as I thought. Now that's certainly not to say the movie is good. It's not. It's probably the most forgettable X-Men movie I've ever seen. I mean, at least the bad ones are memorable for something.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
I mean, it's only been a couple of days since I saw it, and even sitting here right now, I can't actually remember whether Jean Grey actually lives or dies at the end of the movie, and really, who cares? These movies themselves can't even remember the continuity between the different movies anyway. Didn't Jean Grey have the full Phoenix powers in the last movie? Yep, but who cares? Because she gets it from an alien source at the beginning of this movie. And it struck me that since this is not only the last X-Men movie that Fox is going to make, it really meant they could have done some crazy stuff, because who cares? This universe is not going to go anywhere anyway. Like, you know how Logan, set in the future, they like wiped out all of the mutants and they just mention it in one line? They could have done some crazy stuff and got away with it in this movie because it's pretty much the last one they're ever going to make. So why not? Why not take some chances? I mean, there's sort of an effort in this movie to paint Professor X as the villain, or well, not sort of the full villain, but to call him out for some of his shady practices, because Professor X in the comics has done some very, very shady stuff in the past. But the James McAvoy Xavier in this, not so much, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It really bothered me when Mystique was railing on him for Jean almost dying when they went to save the astronauts. She's blaming him for this, saying that he's doing it for his own personal glory. When has Xavier in the movies ever done any of this for his own personal glory? He doesn't need to do any of this. I mean, he doesn't even need to be in that wheelchair. He's got that serum he can take, which shuts off his mental powers, but he can walk around. But he's confining himself to the wheelchair specifically so he's making that self-sacrifice specifically so he can make the world a better place. That's the whole reason he's doing the school. Everything he does is to make the world a better place and to help these mutant kids. And for her to turn around, her of all people, to turn around and to judge him was just so... it just did not work. I mean, they needed to set up Xavier as doing some shady stuff more so than what he has. And it really bothered me because it's like, why is she railing on Professor X? Like, we could have died up there. We could have died up there. Yeah, you're superheroes, okay? You've joined the X-Men. It's a superhero team. Every single person on that team is there voluntarily by choice, and they know there is risk involved. Every time you go out there as an X-Man to do whatever, there is risk involved. You might not come back. You all know this. You all take the risks. You all agree to take the risks and go out there and do it. And Jean Grey herself, even before, like she almost dies, but right when I remember over the radio, like Mystique is like, no, let's just let the last astronaut die. I don't want to risk anyone. But Jean Grey's like, no, I got this. I can do this. So she chose it herself. So what the hell are you blaming Professor X for? Everyone in the team knows the risks, and Jean Grey herself verbally said, no, I'm willing to do this. So shut up, Mystique. Shut up. You don't know anything. You're an idiot and you're useless. Well, okay, you're not useless. Your shape-shifting power is very useful, but you as a person are useless. And you know who else is useless? Scarlett Johansson, because I think this movie kind of showed she is not as popular as she thinks she is. You know, she was big in the Hunger Games, and she made a big deal during the that Passengers movie with Chris Pratt, where she demanded equal pay to him because she thought she brought in the same kind of audience numbers that he did. Turns out she doesn't, and we saw it again here. Scarlett Johansson as an actress is not as popular as she thinks she is. She does not have the kind of pull that other big actors and actresses have. And isn't she the one who made the big deal about like her not getting paid, like female actresses not getting paid as much as male actresses, which isn't true. You get paid by how much audience you bring in. That's why Charlize Theron gets paid so much, because she brings in a big audience. Chris Pratt does. You don't, Scarlett Johansson. The reason you get paid less is because you don't bring in as much as a crowd as some of the other actors do. So X-Men, in terms of the Fox area, the Fox ownership, that's done. It looks like Scarlett Johansson as being like an A-list actor is pretty much done too. So I guess this review is just kind of like saying goodbye to the Fox X-Men, and this movie was kind of like saying goodbye to the Fox X-Men. And they did have a window there where they could have changed it after the Bryan Singer movies. They could have changed it with X-Men First Class. They had a few misfired with Origins and all the rest of it, but after X-Men First Class, they had a new cast, new feel, new direction, new energy, new talent behind it, and I was genuinely interested to see in what direction they went after X-Men First Class. But sadly, they eventually brought back in Bryan Singer, and he brought it back to all the stuff that we didn't like in the first two X-Men movies. Yeah, there was some stuff we did like, but I felt like I don't want to review X-Men Apocalypse again, but I mentioned at the time that I felt like comic book movies had evolved since then, and him doing X-Men Apocalypse was taking it back to the early X-Men movies, and I just didn't like it. And I think that's where the franchise went wrong. If they had continued in the direction, the rebirth under X-Men First Class, I think we could have had something really, really impressive. But sadly, they got Singerized again. But it's fun to think about how they could have really mixed things up and just experimented with this if they had wanted to. Because who cares? The franchise isn't going anywhere after this. It's going over to Disney. So you may as well do something nuts, have some fun with it. I mean, if they were throwing out this thing that Xavier is kind of a bad guy in this, why not make him full bad guy? That would be cool. I mean, I'd actually like to see a Professor X who does actually turn evil for a bit, who's like so obsessed with trying to take down the Phoenix that he does actually become a straight up villain, at least for one movie. I mean, why not? It's the last movie. You're never going to have to follow it up. Experiment. Do something. But no, it was just kind of bland and kind of boring, and of course they ruined the Phoenix saga once again, but well, I guess the Fox X-Men chapter in movie history is now gone. It's closed, into the bin, mate, and I guess we could move on to new things with Marvel X-Men. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So, let me know what you thought about Dark Phoenix, or if you even bothered to see it at all, in the comment section below. I am Bandit, this is Bandit Incorporated. Until next time, I will see you guys in the comments.